Alright, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Flow and Flow podcast. We're here for another episode. So, our mission here is to elevate the collective vibrations to inspiring conversations and deep self discovery. Today, we're diving into a powerful discussion about resilience, purpose, and personal transformation with a remarkable guest, Frederik Schaaf. For reason journey, Frederik's journey brought him to the United States in 2019, where he's continued his mission to help others become the best version of themselves. A former personal trainer and health coach turned life and relationship coach, Frederick combines his passion for deep conversation, active listening, and active living and genuine empowerment to guide people through life's most challenging transitions. Frederick's past has shaped by profound experience, including the passing of his mother in 2023 and his journey through divorce. He brings a unique perspective on how nutrition, exercise, and structured routines can help us not only cope with grief, but transform into a source of strength and personal growth. His message is clear and compelling. By finding purpose and discovering ourselves, we can attract the love, happiness, and fulfillment we truly deserve. In line with our mission here on the Flow and Flow Out podcast, we hope this episode offers valuable insight to help you elevate your relationships and ultimately the collective vibrations we all share. So let's dive in and welcome Frederick to the show.
Hey, what's up? What's up? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about yourself. That was the formal introduction, and then we can really get into the flow of things.
No, for sure. I mean, that was a very smooth intro, though. I appreciate it.
I'm on episode like 63 now.
I know. So yeah, I mean, you already said it. So I'm originally from Germany. I live in California right now. I'm a former mathematics and PE teacher back in Germany, but I always did some personal training on the side. When I moved to the US because of my ex-husband, I was like, I'm not being a teacher anymore. It's like, I'm glad I can keep this chapter behind. I was like, that's not for me. It's like, it's a hard job. Whoever does it, like, whew, good for you. Like, that's why it's like, I moved into personal training in the US. Yeah. And then I was a full-time personal trainer. And I was always into health and nutrition and so on. And then I became a functional medicine health coach as well, next to personal training, because I thought my clients needed more guidance. I always felt like, okay, I train them, I see them like 2 to 3 times a week, but not much has changed sometimes. And I was like, what's like nutrition is just a huge part, because like you see them whatever, like an hour, maybe 3 hours a week, but you have no clue what they're going to do the rest of the day. These are the 23 hours, right? So it's literally just the cherry on the cake to train them. So I felt like I needed more impact. That's why I became a health coach. And then at some point when life hit the fan, or like I like full force in my face, with divorce, and when my mom passed, I was like, this is crazy. Like, I needed to get, excuse my French, like, but I need to get my shit together. I'm like, you need to get back on the feet somehow.
You said it was 2019, or no? It was
when I moved. 2019? I moved in 2019. Yeah, I moved in 2019, and divorce and.
Your mom passed away in 2023, so that was just last year, huh?
That's correct.
Oh, so you're really going to do a lot of like grief right now as well, too, right?
Oh no, for sure. It's something, you know how it is with grief. It's like in waves. Sometimes you're totally fine, and sometimes you like small things that just hits you, and you're like bawling. You're like, wait, what's happening here? So yeah.
I feel you. I mean, it's like coming and dealing with lots of change at the same time is definitely challenging. And your story and being honest and vulnerable, because I hear your messages and I see you on Instagram and being honest about it. And when you go through the stuff and you express yourself, it helps you in a way heal. So I wanted to bring you on here because you are very authentic and honest with experience and how to cultivate self-love. And when you deal with hard stuff, for me, it's like hard stuff is where all the strength and all the character and the values are developed. So it's super important to talk about the hard stuff, and then also celebrate the good stuff as well too. So as you started going into like health coaching and the need for more transformation for yourself and also seeing that in your clients, right? I'm seeing that myself too. Like I used to be a health coach. I used to coach group classes, coach people on nutrition, but if it didn't feel like I was really getting the impact like you thought the same. But that's why I started going into life coaching and then started to realize how I changed myself permanently because I was dealing with a lot of self worth issues, a lot of self doubt, and everything. Can we talk a little bit about like when you started doing that and when it came to mind that hey, maybe this might be useful in like your own coaching and how you switch to like a health coach to your relationship coaching now, right? Okay, how did you do that, or just kind of like where that idea came from?
Well, the idea came from,
When you divorce.
I was like back at the gym, like same thing. I felt like I didn't have enough impact, and then I realized I would love to do more. And there's a bigger picture to why people don't change. It's not just okay, I need to have a six pack, or I feel maybe I should lose some weight or whatever. It's like that was never the reason. There was always a bigger reason, and I, as a personal trainer and health coach, I could never tap really into their mindset. Like find the
Right.
trigger. Why does it make click and you make it work? And I was like, there's something else to it. So that's why I became a life coach, because there's always a bigger picture, a bigger meaning behind it. And I was just I was tired of it, of just like doing like the small things. I was
Yeah.
like, I want big impact. And it's like, and I felt like my clients wanted to. So that's why I shifted into life coaching. And also because of what happened, life is just so complex and we need some guidance in general, whatever happens. And especially with grief and healing everyone goes through trauma, different kind of phases, different kind of heaviness. But I feel like the tools I had for myself were so helpful for me to move forward and get me back on track. That's always like, okay, that's my path. That's what I have to do now.
And what kind of tools do you have or learned when you were in there? Because I'll permit like starting this podcast and I've done like personal development work and then I've done healing and therapy. I don't know if you call it like shadow work. Some people call it shadow work.
Yeah.
Only recently I started doing it, and it was especially after divorce for me. And talk about what that is, like what tools you got from it, and how people can benefit it. We talk about it all the time, but I'm not sure if it hits home that there is like shadow work therapy, like to figure out like all the shit that you don't like about yourself. That's part of it too.
No, for sure. You can't deny it. Because that's when you have to dig deep and kind of also to realize who are you. I feel like that's as beautiful as marriage is. I think it was also the worst experience at the same time. Like with the divorce, I'm like I was high on love and hit rock bottom really badly, and it's like you need to have therapy, because I feel like sometimes depends on who you're with. Some people lose themselves. You try to be a specific person for the partner, and then all of a sudden, if this ends, you're like, wait, what has happened? Who was I?
It's interesting. We always say that, like for me, it's like when I went through like my marriage, I gotta be myself, continue to be myself. But somehow, somewhere, you end up. Of course, you have to change. In the relationship, you can't be the same person. Yeah, you do. But I think it's more like how do you coach people now and like being themselves and doing the therapy and then seeing how they're healthy into like the next relationship.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I mean, you mentioned already a really good thing. What I did, I started therapy because it's so important to get to know yourself. Like why certain things trigger you, why you are the way you are, why do you respond to certain things the way you respond. So, and I think this what therapy definitely helps you. But that's just a little part. Like for me, just to not to like drown in self-pity and like heartbreak and it feels heavy, I need to get up. I mean, obviously I had my coaching clients or like my personal training clients, so I worked full time. I got up in the morning. That was my routine. I was like every single day the same thing. So I don't even think about the next day. It's like, I didn't even give myself time much to feel like, oh my God, it's so heavy, whatever. I just kept going, keep moving forward. Yes, you need time to feel it and go through emotions, and that is very important. but it's also important to get yourself back up, go to the gym, eat healthy, because I always say that's my way of finding self-love. Because self-love is not like, hey, I'm getting a haircut or whatever, go for dinner or watch a movie. Self-love are the basics you do on a daily basis. You give back to yourself to function, to thrive. For me, it was going to the gym, feel strong, feel healthy, eating healthy foods, because healthy foods, like, it's also like it just creates these whole like emotions in in a healthy way. You know how you feel if you eat shitty food. Sometimes afterwards you're like, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that. And you don't have it if you constantly eating healthy foods. You move and you feel good, you feel strong. It just changed the whole vibration and the whole energy within you. And that's one of my main things I did on a daily basis for myself, to show up for myself and to move forward. Because I mean, that's what you have to do, right? You have to love yourself and you have to give back to yourself, because I mean, there's no one else. It's just you.
So. Yeah, you made such a good point about like self-love. Like self-love, I think sometimes it's confused. Like self-love as in like what you just said is like, okay, treat yourself to like a nice dinner, like food and whatever. I think self-love is taking care of yourself in a way where like it's beneficial to you. Of course, you're enjoying like a victory dinner after doing something fun. It's good. It's healthy for you.
For sure.
But I think that self-treatment of like, after a relationship, people go outside and drink or whatever and do that type of therapy. I don't know if that's the right type of therapy, but that's the type of different, direction that you could head into after a separation. You go into this direction of, let me go back to my friends, start drinking, and just blame that person for the relationship. And I've seen that. And then they'll expect other people or the next relationship to work out. But for me, the point, like what I'm hearing, like the type of therapy, the type of work that you have to do after the relationship, when that happens, you start doing all this identity work of like figuring out like who you are. It helps you heal one, because you always, I believe you always tend to lose yourself a little bit in a relationship, because one, you have to, I mean, I think in a good relationship, you kind of influence each other. You either grow or you kind of change, but there has to be a part of that where you do a lot of self-reflection, a lot of introspective work. But that work is very hard and challenging. It could take you to ways like we talked about, because you're dealing with like booze at the same time. And like you've been, and I love that you built habits into your routine. And I think that's very important, especially when you're going to do a breakup or anything. I remember you posted something. What do you do? The best thing you can do after a breakup. I read on it. I was like, wake up.
No, for sure.
Like, it puts your mind off something. And for me, and this is from personal experience, I always been lifting weights and everything. But we always got to talk about ways of like, for other people that don't have this lifestyle and actually want to change this lifestyle, like this is a good time to do it as well too. But for me, when I was going through like my therapy after I was divorced and I had to go to therapy, the emotional pain was actually changed when I went to the gym. I actually trained really, really hard. One of the most intense I ever trained in my, because the emotional pain was so hard. I really have to train really hard. Like everybody sees like my Instagram from when before I divorced and after I divorced, I became like extremely good shape. But it was changing how I felt, the pain I felt. And a lot of people are like therapists don't like saying that the gym is therapy. I was like, it's kind of a focus too.
No, it is.
Yeah. So I like, I definitely think it's so healthy to go to the gym, eat healthy, right? But there's also challenges for people, especially if they're having this lifestyle. Like, even there's, thought process that this all ties together. Like, not eating healthy, like eating healthy itself, you can eat certain food and make yourself feel healthy or shitty, or you can eat healthy food and make you feel really good too. And most people don't actually make that connection. And that's what I want to talk about more of, like, how would you help somebody that that is, just gone through a divorce, probably never really like exercise or have a healthy lifestyle, help them make this transition? What kind of questions or how would you help them think through like this is good and beneficial for you?
I always feel like when this kind of stuff happens, like divorce or breakup, you kind of sometimes you feel abandoned. You feel like you're lost. You lost yourself. You don't know where to go, whatever. So you have to find yourself again. Like, who are you? And that's why I was asked, like, what is the bigger picture for yourself? Like,
Yeah.
where do you see yourself in 5 years from now or 10 years from now? How do you want to feel? What do you envision for yourself? Be as specific as you can and write it down. Like, write down the bigger picture. And then it's like,
Yeah.
how do we get there? And most likely, people want to feel better. They want to feel better. They want to look better. Because I would say you want to become the better version of yourself. Because divorce or breakup or death or whatever, it's so painful. Especially, I mean, if you hit both. But it's so painful that you don't ever want to get to this point again or feel as low again, especially as divorce, because that's obviously something you might be able to, it's in your control a little. Death, not so much, right? But that's always like, what is the bigger picture? What are the things you have to do to get there? And I always emphasize on moving. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, being outside, moving. I always say motion creates emotion. You always feel so much better when you move. It's like for me, it's my daily meditation, going to the gym. Because all you do, it's like, what I'm going to do? I'm going to like count my reps. You're so present in the moment, you don't think about anything else. That's what it's like, even if you go for a walk, listen to a podcast, be outside, if that's the smallest thing you can do, if you're not into moving, but just keep moving, because like, we are meant to move. And nowadays we just sit way too long, way too often. That's always like, you need to move. So I feel like that's a bigger picture of like kind of breaking it down. It's almost like teaching small kids in school, like, when you get your curriculum, that's the curriculum, that's what they have to learn. How do you break it down, what they have to learn on a daily basis? Same with adults. Like, what is the bigger picture? What do you want to achieve? Break it down, and that's what you have to do. And there's no question asked. And either you want it or you don't. But usually, because it's so painful, you want to get out of this and you don't want to feel this ever again. That's always say, use your pain and shift it into purpose.
I like that. Shift it into purpose. I really like that, using the pain to shift into purpose. Painful. Talk about it. I don't like about painful moments, pain points. When it comes up, don't avoid it. Right? It's naturally, and for me, and this is for personal experience. If I ever feel a pain point, I just bring it up to the forefront and then try to fix it. Right? Of course, right now it's like life coaching and like therapy and being an entrepreneur. That's all I want to fix. Right? And not avoiding it, not avoiding it. You do need to change when you do have these transitions. And then when you talk about using the pain, right? If we don't want to ever feel this away again, it's like there's no way to really predict that you won't feel the pain again.
No, for sure
But
not.
at least you could, like help ease the pain, ease the suffering, and also understand your own suffering and help other people. And that's kind of like, I think, in the healing process, right? I think after relationships, you have to heal yourself.
No,
You have to make yourself whole again. And when you do the therapy, the shadow work, and it's a real work. And that's the part of the I've done it. You see the ups and downs of you see success. You might even be kind of a few steps here and there, but you're knowing that work is going to lead into something better, because doing the shadow work and all that, it brings a little more authenticity to relationships, to
100%.
podcasting and like business and stuff. Self-love is one big thing too. It's like when you go through a divorce, when you go through rejection. You're like, how does anybody love me? Like, how, like to help people. Yes, you got these routines, you got these habits, you get let's talk about mindset. Like, how do you like love yourself again after being, in your case, like after being broken and being rejected and stuff? How do you create that love again?
It's a really good question. I always feel like you just have to, that's why I think this healing work and therapy and all these things are so important, because you need to get to know yourself. You need to get to know yourself. What do you love? What do you want from life? Once you know these kind of things, you can kind of shift into this mindset of like, okay, what do I need? What makes me happy? Because you're in this negative mindset of like, I'm rejected, I'm by myself. So it's like, it's a little dark. So you kind of like need to step out of this dark cloud and see the sunshine, right? So that's always like, you need to force yourself, literally force yourself. Otherwise, you're not getting out. Like, do the things you like. If it's small things, maybe like whatever, back then when you were like younger, you love to paint or something. Why don't you do something like this? Like, to
Yeah.
just get this positive vibration back into your life where you feel like, okay, like, let's do one step at a time, because sitting in this cloud where you feel like you're not good enough, you're like a failure, you didn't do enough, whatever, is not helpful. Yes, it's fine, and see where does it sit, why does it come up, but that's more like what you have to discuss with your therapist. We as life coaches always feel like we pick you up where you're at and try to move you forward, right, to like a life you envision for yourself. But you need
Mm-hmm.
to actively shift your mindset, positive mindset. That's always say it's so important to do the things
Yeah.
you love to do, like small things.
Like shifting your mindset. I think that's good. I think personal development, sometimes I think people think about that you have to give up and sacrifice everything, change your whole life. And it does feel like that after
Mm.
divorce.
But you
Some
also
people might.
want to, right? You feel like you really want to. You're like, fuck, I don't want to, excuse my French, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I need to get
Yeah,
out of here, and I don't want to experience this ever again, because it was so painful. So now's the time to become better, to choose more wisely, to keep up your boundaries, because how often, if we choose the next partner, your boundaries are not there, you see some red flags, and then all of a sudden you step in the same thing. And sometimes people are always like, why do I meet always the same kind of people? Because
yeah,
you don't learn the lesson. You know exactly why you meet those people.
yeah.
So they
Feel
like
cuss
you.
podcast. Feel free to cuss on the podcast. You
Okay,
don't
cool. Okay,
see.
perfect. I'm German. I cuss all the time. I'm just like,
Oh, yeah.
so like people are like the universe like throws this shit at you because
Yeah,
you can't keep your boundaries up. It's like,
yeah,
as it's a no, then walk away and don't do it again.
right.
You should know better at this point.
Yeah, going back on, and this is interesting, maybe we could talk about this too, is going back on your feet and then going
Mm.
back into like the dating world as well too, because that itself, like for me, like when I started with the divorce, I've been divorced about like a year now, but I've been healing and going to therapy and going life coaching as well too, and really doing the work, the inner work, that deep inner work of like really bringing that self love
Mm.
and improving myself. And
Yeah.
going back into like the dating world as well too, and especially at our age, I'm not sure how old you are. I'm 39.
Same.
So
39.
same.
Mm.
Yeah, it's like there's some people that are diverse. There's some people that are single. There are some people that are diverse with kids, and definitely lots of like different dynamics of
Mm.
people that have gone through different things. I've dated single, divorce, and whatever, and it's kind of got to know. But everybody is always in the healing process. How do you know when you know if you're like ready to be in a relationship? I feel like I've been healing it, but I'm not 100% sure. I haven't been in a serious relationship
Mm.
after a serious
Mm.
relationship. I'm not sure if you have any insight on that. If you see anybody
Mm.
like they're like completely ready and it went well, but it feels like other people might be on different phases
Mm.
of like their healing journey. And I don't know if you face any challenges or coach anybody through that.
Yeah, I feel like they're like different kind of people. Some people
Yeah.
love to just jump into the next relationship to whatever process it, which is fine. I'm always like, you do you, whatever you feel is right. Some people just rather stay single for a longer time to like process everything to until they feel ready. I'm like, that's not the right answer. As I always feel like, if you feel like, sometimes you have to be very somatic with your body. Your body tells you when you're ready or not. sometimes we think we are not, but maybe your body feels like, oh, maybe I feel a little lonely. Maybe
You know, the word you just said somatic. I've been hearing it a lot. Can you? Is that when like you like change your feeling of your body? Is that how you, what it is?
somatics just like you tune in. You try to shut off your brain and kind of see what your body responds. Like even with like trauma or whatever, if you get triggered, sometimes you try to be more somatic and see like, okay, where does it sit? Like where does this pain sit? With me, it's always like my pain is always like kind of heart centered behind my sternum, as if there's like a big stone sits right here. Especially when I get anxious, it always sits here. And then it's
Right.
more like with somatic, you kind of ask yourself, like, okay, why does it happen? It's usually always happens because your body wants to protect
Okay.
you to get hurt again, like these kind of things.
Yeah. The beautiful thing about like personal development and going on like this journey is like everyone has different words and languages or
Mm-hmm.
like different specific things. Like, cause I do a lot of healing. I've done a lot of like Kundalini yoga and stuff, and like
Mm-hmm.
really doing that heart centered like
Yeah.
breathing technique right there. It does change you. It really does changes you physiology because like for me, it just from personal experience, and I don't like hating people. I don't like
Mm-hmm.
having that anger. I'm okay with being sad. But doing that meditation, like right here in the heart and everything, really bringing
Mm-hmm.
like the love and the joy again for myself and
Mm-hmm.
seeing like that can be a relationship again. And it really does work. I didn't think it was going to work before.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had like gone through like therapy and stuff, but that's somatic work. I think anybody listening to this podcast like breathing and like feeling this area and energetic work, it does work.
Yeah, no, it does
Yeah,
work. It does work, and it's
yeah,
also important to just tune in sometimes because we are so logical nowadays. I feel like we sometimes lost the connection to our own body, and our own body sometimes speaks way louder than our head. But we always think like analytically and like, okay, what would be the right choice? Your body usually
yes,
tells you. I always say it's like even with dating or whatever, or with friends, or I don't know. If you have certain people in life and you feel like they make you feel unsafe or uncomfortable, your body,
hmm
you will feel it. But we always think like, okay, it's not that bad. We like play it down. It's like,
Guys, thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. My name is Sam Nang, and I just wanted to take a moment and thank you guys for listening to the Flow In, Flow Out podcast. It's been great to have your support, and I want to tell you a little bit more how you can support the community and how we can support you as well too. So, if you like the Flow In, Flow Out podcast, the message that we're putting out, the information, the content, please subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel on Spotify. Please like it. Please share it. Please share an inspiring message. It helps with the algorithm. It helps get the message out to people that need it. So that would be greatly appreciated. Now, if you are in need of more personal development support in those areas of physical fitness, nutrition, mindset, spirituality, anything in that type of area, please book a discovery call with us. We'd love to help you. We'll get some time on the schedule to chat about what your struggles are, how we can help you, and we'd love to support you in that way. And if you are interested in being a part of being a guest on the podcast, please let me know. If you have an inspiring story, if you have something that you want to share, if you have a message that resonates that's similar to what we're sharing here on the Flow In, Flow Out podcast, we welcome you to be part of our show. We're super excited where the growth and the community is growing. So we look forward to having you here, and we look forward to working with you. And thank you guys so much for the continued support and the love. And we'll continue to keep putting out the good vibrations out there to help elevate the collective vibrations. And thank you guys so much.
no, this happens for a reason. Either you're triggered in a way, and if you're triggered in a way, listen to it and
yeah.
react, right?
I think like being in tune with yourself though, like the meditation. Maybe in my early 30s, that's when I started meditating a little bit. Then that's when I started having more consciousness. That's when I started to pay attention to like negative energy, because there's a lot, like when you're in say a relationship, you get out of a relationship, you're in the dumps. You're sad, you're low vibrational, and sometimes you're so low in that it's hard to pull yourself
Out.
you
No,
know.
for sure.
Yeah. Um, and I think, the way you put your message out there, the way I put my message out there, and I want people to really understand, like, if you're going through it, I think you reach out to somebody.
100%.
Somebody that's done through it. But for me, that was one of the routines that I had. I had to talk to at least 5 or 6 different people when I was going through the thick of it. I had my therapist, my coworkers, my brother, I had like 2 friends, and it was just like, maybe every other week I would talk to them. I think let's talk about like having healthy relationships, not just romantic relationships, whether we have like best friends, co-workers, parents, and how to use that, because we should definitely have tools and ways where we should set things up, because sometimes you don't talk to anybody.
No,
I'm
for
sure
sure.
you've been in.
Yeah.
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 A little bit.
It's important to share things, right? It's important to talk things through and whatever. Sometimes I feel like in those cases, you need a professional, like either life coach or therapist, best case scenario, therapist and life coach, because I feel like you can talk to your friends, but friends are oftentimes on your side, obviously. They're sympathetic,
Yeah.
right? They feed into this negative thinking or whatever. Sometimes it's a little tricky to get out of it because they don't have the tools to move you forward. It's important to talk about it, but sometimes don't think your friend is enough if you feel very low.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. With friends in general, I would say when this shift happened for me with divorce and I kind of found myself and like I know what I want in life and I know how I want to appear in life, also with my energy, I questions a lot of friendships because sometimes we have friends for so long, which is beautiful, don't get me wrong, but it's also okay to walk away on friendships if they don't serve you anymore, because sometimes we are just stuck because we think like, oh, we have been together since kindergarten or whatever. Yeah, but did they grow with you or do they hold you back? And if you really want to be a different person and move on, you will sometimes see a little bit of frustration in your friends. And that's when you know you have to move on because they love the version of you from back then, not necessarily the version you want to be.
Yeah, you want to be.
And they're like, they kind of hold you back and they're like, oh, I'm not sure if that's a good idea. Maybe you shouldn't, blah, 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 whatever. So that's why with friendships, I would say, if you're on this path of self-worth, of growing, of becoming the best version of yourself, you have to not only think who you live with, because that's also the biggest, I feel like the biggest decision you make in life, who you want to spend the rest of your life with. So you have to be very picky, choose wisely, otherwise they can drag you down because they sit with you 24/7. And if that's a negative Nancy, well, good luck in life. So that's the first thing. And friends, it's the second part. You have to choose wisely who is on your level, on your energy, who lifts you up. You don't want to have like these people who like drag you down. You have to drag with you because you will not go anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm sorry
Absolutely.
to be so blunt, but ditch them. You like it was a great time, but we need to close this door.
Personal growth, especially when you're growing, and of course if you're aspirational and you change your mindset around something. Some of the folks that don't subscribe to the message of like growth, continuously growth and stuff, it will feel like that. And it's a good point that you mentioned as well too. When you go into therapy, like you have to know who you're talking to as well too, because the great thing about like a therapist and life coach, like if you're in a relationship, and for me, like my example is like I've had brothers and like I'll have people right involved, they're invested into you. You pointed out that like they're always going to be on your side. You have that, but you also have to have somebody with outside counsel that don't know these people. You know, that's actually very helpful too. One thing I've done that's great is like I have friendships that don't know any of my family.
No, totally.
Kind of like, yeah, they don't like. I have some friends that know my family and my brothers and like my family and stuff that I introduce. But also, you have to know that they might be involved in that too. But I also have a lot of friends that are like outside of it. They don't know everything and everything, so they can give you the kind of that unbiased, like not involved type of guidance. And you do have to trust people, friendships as well too. Like one thing is like having to struggle and finding people that are growth minded as well too. Like I'm big on like relationships, friendships, and connecting with people. I think when you learn how to connect with yourself, you learn how to connect with other people as well too, and resonate. And that's a big struggle, big challenge too. Is like you most of the time when you're in a relationship or leave a relationship already, you go back to your own ways. It's easy sometimes, but whenever there's people, I was like, no, go take the path of growth, take the path of solitude, learning who you are and stuff. It's gonna pay so much bigger dividends in who you are in the future and stuff. And then you are gonna attract naturally better friends, better relationships. And I'm a strong believer on like because I don't want, I still believe in love. I still believe in like marriage and things like that. I don't want to be tainted because I had a divorce, but I need to do a lot of the inner work and healing myself to love myself so I can have that. I think a lot of people need to do that type of work so they can have a healthy relationship, so they can see red flags. It's interesting, like
100%.
yeah,
100%. I always say like see it as a blessing. In the beginning, it might be very painful and whatever, but in the end, it's a blessing. It's a blessing and a curse, right? But it's a blessing because it forces you to be better. Because I always say it's like, there are always two to tango. It's like, it's not only the other partner who did all this, nonsense. It's always like, there are always two people in a relationship. It's not always like, it's like, it's all on that person, all on my partner. He did everything wrong. No, if you point that out, you for sure did a lot of stuff which was not correct either. So you have to be very reflective after to see, okay, what did I wrong? Like own your shit. You have
that's
to.
what
No, you have to.
like coaches have they have accountability.
Oh, I will
Like, you do have
definitely,
to pay.
I will definitely call you out on your stuff. Don't worry about it.
Oh, I gotta tell you like friends when I call them out on their bullshit. I mean, and I've been those friends from that way, but I think if you do this identity growth and personal development work, you're
Yeah.
okay with what it is because naturally friendships, relationships, it doesn't matter if it's romantic or friendships and stuff. It's the seasons of life that you go through, right? It's like, okay, maybe before 30, I was according to socialize a lot. I had friendships that were all about just socializing over drinks or over going to like events and stuff. And then when you start to give up that and, want to change your life, those friendships don't resonate anymore.
No,
You
100%.
know
Yeah.
what I mean? I've done it, and I think it's a lot, and like my personal development journey is that's one of the biggest sacrifice that you do have to make too.
For
In order for
yourself.
you
For
to
yourself. It's
for
a
yourself.
it's some self-love. You have to step
It's
away.
that's the self love that we're talking
No,
about.
seriously
The
though.
self love that we're talking about is not going to hang out with the same people and getting the same information. It's stepping aside, doing the personal development work, and then learning. Okay, this is where you do have to reflect on all the hard stuff. It's done for sure. It's
It is.
definitely like it's
It
not
is.
easy.
No, it's so dirty, but it's also so rewarding. It's so rewarding
Yeah,
because, as you said, once you change, you will attract the right people in your life. It's like it's a
yeah,
different. You just vibe on a different energy level, and you will attract the right people in life. So, but
yeah,
you have to make the move. That's always like I always say,
yeah,
you attract who you are. Sometimes the
yeah,
question is like, how do I just when you run into random people and like, how did that happen? But it somehow
You-
works perfectly, and you're kind of on the same level, and you're like, interesting how this works. But you have
yeah.
to be open for it, and you have to do the work.
Yeah, when you do the work, you are open for it. You're open for people that are doing similar work, and you could resonate. And that's how like I put it together is like I've been able to connect with a lot of people because I've been doing the work and I've been honest and vulnerable with it and stuff.
Mm.
And when you hear other people that are honest and vulnerable and actually do the work, right? You take a lot more accountability for yourself. You take accountability for like your future relationship and what you want to do for yourself, which in return, like I said, it's very empowering. It's a beautiful process. It's an ugly process. It's, it's definitely ugly. You know, I've seen the good and the bad, but I always tell my friends, it's like, you know, you can see the beauty because you see the darkness. There's always contrast. There's always contrast in the beauty and the things that you see. So
No, for
that's,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
And I feel like when you
So let me
say,
actually,
sorry,
go ahead.
I feel like always when you say it's ugly, because I always feel like it's ugly work, because for me it was like I realized I wasn't as perfect as I thought I was. Right? That's the
Yes.
ugly work, when you feel like, oh, that was on me. Oh, no wonder that happened. Oh, no wonder that's why. Because I acted the way I acted, even though back then you thought it's like, oh, that's normal. No, absolutely not. It's funny when you kind of you hold a mirror in front of your face.
Yeah, one thing that it's before like a serious relationship, you think that being a good person is just enough. It is not. When you go into a relationship, you actually have to. There's like three relationships. There's your relationship, there's your partner, and then your relationship together. And all of those have to be very healthy. They're not growing. They start to deteriorate. They start to become toxic. And there's three relationships. There's your partner, there's a relationship together. And for me, as I start to learn like this relationship together is growing. And we have to have tools, we have to have ways to speak to each other respectfully, boundaries, give each other hurt space and everything. And this is all stuff that's new for me. That's
Yeah.
Starting reading blogs, listening to podcasts about relationships, listening to other podcasts and having these conversations. This is all like new, and it's a learning process. And we have to have tools. We have to be able to talk to up there as well too. But who do you listen to? You coach by? Because you've been trained by. You're an R&T coaching program too, right?
Yeah.
How who did you decide to have your coaching certification through, and what? I think you have like an interesting background. How did that kind of you put that together for you? Or how did you go into like Tony Robbins
Yeah.
and Madonna's, right?
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah. How did I end up? I don't even know. Sometimes I'm just like, things sometimes just fall into my lap, and I was like, oh, it just pops up, and I was like, oh, interesting. I think with Tony Madonna's training, life coaching, I listened to this podcast after my divorce. What's her name? She's a relationship coach. I can't remember. So I looked up. I don't even know. I had to look up. I looked at her bio. Let me see what her name is. I looked at her bio, and Jillian Morecki or something. It's called Jillian on Love or something podcast. And I looked up her bio, and she because I loved the topic she was talking about back then. I was like, it's so interesting. And then I saw that Tony Madonna's training in there, and I just clicked on it and looked it up. Yeah, that she did the program. So, and that's how I looked it up, and I was like, that is so interesting, and it just resonated with me, and I was like, that's what I have to do. Because for me, that's a little deeper story, but I felt like for me, I was sometimes struggling, what I'm going to do next. I'm maybe going to do this. I have so many interests, and I love so many things. And when my mom passed away, I grew up in a tiny village in Germany. And my mom passed away. There were like, I don't know, 450 people at her funeral. And I'm like, my dad was like, who are all these people? My dad didn't even know all these people. So we had a small business, or my parents had a small business. So people was walking in and out because my mom was so welcoming and listened to everyone.
Yeah.
Mother Teresa, everyone loved
Mother
her.
Teresa.
She seriously though, like everyone loved her, and everyone was so heartbroken and touched when at the funeral. And I was like, that is crazy. That is crazy
Yeah.
how many people resonated with her and loved her and whatever. And then I thought, that's what we all crave for. Let's face it, like, why are we here on this earth? We all crave love at some point. We always think like, oh, I can stay single, I don't need this, whatsoever. We all need some kind of love. Mostly it's a relationship or good friends. And that's when I realized. And then for me, it's really important. I mean, I'm happy to be single as well. Don't get me wrong. It's like, it's a really good time to get to know yourself. But the challenge happens when after a toxic relationship, or like a not working relationship, the hard part is the next relationship you will have after, because that's when you get triggered, and that's when you have to apply all the things you have learned, and you will see if you have learned them correctly, because they will trigger old wounds over and over, and you feel like, oh my God, like here we are again. Why am I the way I am? But that's the beauty of it too, right? But you have to be willing to be so authentic and so full of love, and don't be scared of loving people, even though the past has been so painful. And I feel like that's what's missing nowadays too in today's society. Everyone doesn't want to be real anymore, and no one is authentic because they're all scared. They all want the same thing. They all want love and this dream, this little dream relationship. But you have to put in the work, and you have to be your authentic self, and you have to put this first, and you have to literally put your heart in your hands, like, here, have it. I trust you. Let's go for it. Otherwise, it's like you get half-ass relationships. If you don't go out, if you don't go for it, that's what you will, I would say, is like, well, I don't know, we have a German saying, whatever you shout into the woods, it will come back at you. So like an echo. So that's what you have to do with the relationships too. So it's a long story, but yeah.
No, I mean, it's a good story to talk about. I appreciate you sharing your story about your mom, and sorry that she passed away. I think I had my mom passed away about 16 years now. Oh, like this was before like the internet came, and similar situation where you pay attention, like who shows up at people's funeral, what type of impact that person made on other people's lives. And it's interesting how you say your mom's like Mother Teresa, and like kindness, love and connection.
It was so important.
Even for me, it's like there goes dark time where you can't kind of think about like what happens if that happens to me. What are people going to say about me? How I treated them? What type of love? What appreciation? But I mean, from my coaching program, RMT, love and connection is one of the human needs, desires. Right? We all need it. We all, for survival. We don't have it, we're gonna start to deteriorate on the inside. But I think it starts with finding love on the inside. And your story of like how you resonate with your mom and brought yourself to just being okay with like, this is it. That coaching, sure, it popped up, it resonated with you, and you were like, just go with it. And I think that's an important thing, because I think the healing process is like we expect something to be a certain way. We expect that we're a good person. We expect our relationship to work out because we're a good person. But that release after, for me was just detaching from things and just being okay and accepting of everything. Because for me, when I went through everything, I was trying to make sense of everything. And it was just killing me. How could she leave me? How could that happen? How could these toxic relationships, like, it wasn't the relationship, like, even had work environments. And when I just kept trying to make sense of things, it hurt me more. So I got to a point where in personal growth, where you just kind of accept things for what it is, and you take that pain, like what you said now, it becomes your purpose. And, you share your message about relationship and self-love, and you taking it to like a different level where you find purpose. Now, how do you help, or tell me a little bit about like your future aspirations with your coaching and yourself, Frederik, and how you see the future and some with your coaching and how you see things going in the future with coaching.
I mean, it's going to be bright. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I was like,
That's why I'm here.
That's right. I feel like because it was such a dark time and I know how it has been, and I would have wished I would knew someone who could have like kind of coached me through this process or just had supported me on this journey a little better. And that's, I feel like it is just so important to know who you can reach out to and how to someone who guides you step by step, and maybe also just like helps me to understand you have so many questions in those times. You have so many questions like, what is next? What am I going to do? And whatever. So I feel like it's helpful to have someone to move forward and become better, that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Someone has to literally have to tell you, you got this. Just someone who keeps you accountable and says like, hey, you got this. I know it's bad, and you can feel all the feelings as long as you want to, and you have to go through this pain. You can't escape it, but there's a light right there, but you have to slowly move forward and walk towards it. So that's why I thought that's what I want to do. That's what I want to create, like a community of people who are in the same boat, who can support each other. That's why I'm literally on all social media platforms. Luckily, everything is for free, so you can literally just like stream it everywhere, which I love. Yeah, it's the best thing.
Yeah.
And you get so much.
Social media in a good way. Because I had Facebook when it first started. I grew up with social media.
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram. I'm gonna post your links as well too, and that's how we connected too. I think it was just through Facebook, and then that's how I've been meeting some of my new friends after this relationship. Is I've been putting content out there that I resonate with. Mm-hmm. I'm just talking from my own personal experience. I'm sure you're talking from your own personal experiences as well too, and then you attract. Okay, this person likes talking about similar topics and everything. Let's talk about it. Like Instagram is a great Threads. Threads has been. For me, on the spiritual side, because I've been doing a lot of like spiritual healing as well too. That's been a community as well too, and then of course like podcasting as well too. I think you mentioned that you might be interested in podcasting as well too.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, because I was like, I just love to have good conversations, like deep, good conversations. Yeah. I always say like, even with my friends, that's always like, I hate small talk. I'm always like, I drop the deep and hard questions, and people are like, damn. But with those questions, it's like I literally, and we haven't talked much before, but because we have just a deep conversation, you just connect deeper and differently. You feel like, okay, I've known you for like 10 years. So I don't even know where I want to go about this, but what was the question?
Deeper connections, connecting on social media.
Oh yeah.
And community. Because I created a podcast meeting or like a personal development meeting, but it was authentic. I didn't plan anything. It was just kind of like, that's it. Let's do it.
No, for sure. I mean, that's how I feel. That's why. Let's circle back. That's why I'm about to. I mean, I'm here. It's like, if you can see it, I have like this big mic here. I'm already ready to go. So podcast will get launched at some point, because I just love to have deep conversations. I might hit you back up, and then I'm gonna question you out. So to a flip.
I've been on podcasting, so I'm ready.
Okay, awesome. That's good to know. But yeah, no, this will for sure come, because I feel like nowadays podcasts in general, it's just so helpful, because I mean, sometimes therapy is expensive if your health insurance doesn't pay for it or whatever. So I feel like podcasts sometimes is a really good tool to understand things a little better. Like people who talk about different kind of things, and you feel like, oh, I resonate with it. That makes sense. Sometimes it's so accessible nowadays. Why don't use it? And that's why I feel like that's what I want to do. I just want to have interesting conversations and just share knowledge for everyone.
Everything you said that you're not big on like small talk. I'm not big on the small talk too. I've just been like
about the weather,
events or whatever. You want to get to know like you at like a deeper level and stuff. That to me, it's a better relationship. Like and also it's a very like you could network and make friends, do similar things, and it becomes authentic, and that's what I really love. And I could tell, I think about this listening to like and because I have like questions about like podcasting and everything. It's just start. I think having good conversations is a good start. Because having a conversation, other people will resonate and will hear it, and then having guests come on and talking about it, is just a good. I think it just puts good out there in the universe and the in the coaching industry and
No, for
just
sure.
improving each other. So I love it. It's one of my things. Like one of my best friends, I talked to him this weekend. He was telling me he really enjoyed my podcast, and I was like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it." But it's right now. I love it enough where it gives me a freedom of expression, and freedom is a very high vibrational feeling when you
For
express
sure.
yourself and somebody understands you. So it's very like in the process for me, I tell everybody it's a healing process.
No,
I
for
get to
sure.
say what's on my mind. But
I
yeah,
agree.
we're getting ready to wrap up the podcast. I want you to tell us something inspiring how to get people started on the self-love personal development journey, and then I have your links for your Instagram and your threads and your TikTok and your Facebook. So I'll put it on the show notes so people
Yeah.
could connect with you and we can totally grow together.
Yes, please. Yes, please. I mean, as I always say, it's like if you feel like you feel stuck a little and you don't know where to go, it's like there's only one way. You have to move forward. Like find a coach, find a therapist. You have to get going. Like once you're already on this idea of like, maybe should I? Yes, you should. It's like there's no like, don't waste your time. Like, don't waste your time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's when I started doing therapy is like, or coaching, working with coaches. Like I should have done earlier. You should have
No,
done earlier.
yeah, because like I
Yeah,
mean, we went all through this shit, so we know how it is. And if I can help someone to feel the pain a little less, that's all I need. You know what I mean? It's like I know how it
yeah,
is, and sometimes all you just need some guidance and some accountability to make smoother and wiser choices, and that's all you need. Sometimes you just need someone who listens and you can guide you through
yeah,
through it.
absolutely. And Frederick's the person.
That's
So
right. That's right.
yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing such a powerful story
I
and so
appreciate
many
you.
valuable insights with us today. So I'm gonna wrap it up. True as well to part of my podcasting journey. I was trying to make it better with a nice intro, with an outro. But your journey to grief, healing, and self-discovery is truly inspiring. It reminds us of the strength that we need to find within ourselves. Even in life's hardest moments, your emphasis on routines, nutrition, and purpose to transform pain into growth, to attract healthier relationship is a message that resonates deeply with me, and I'm sure it will resonate deeply with the audience members. To our listeners, we hope this conversation has sparked new perspectives on how we can face challenges, find purpose, and create meaningful connections in our lives. Remember, by focusing on self-discovery and elevating your own energy, we can only improve our lives, but also contribute to the collective vibrations we share in this world. If you want to stay connected with Frederick, I'll provide his social media handles and everything. And as always, thank you for tuning into the Flow and Flow podcast. We're here to inspire and support each other every steps of the way. So until next time, thank you, Frederick, for being here on the
Thank you.
podcast. We appreciate you and take care.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
On the podcast. All right, thank you.